Hey everyone, Happy New Year. Just wrapped up talking with American pop indie singer-songwriter and NBC The Voice Season 22 alumni, Sasha Hurtado. We talked her hometown of Dallas, Georgia, importance of commitment, labor of love, experiences on The Voice, American Idol, Lionel Richie, feeling reborn as an artist, exploring her newest single, Going Through the Motions, and more. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Sasha. Sasha, hello, Happy New Year. Welcome to the show.
Happy New Year. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. I mean, it's been a whirlwind of an experience for you. I would think. Talk to me about what this whole experience has been for you.
Um I mean you're talking about The Voice, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay. The Voice is like such a loaded question because I'm like I never know where to start. It was literally like a lot of people I feel like don't know that it's actually like such a long process even before what they see on TV. And it takes up like half of your year. So like most of my year being 18 was spent on the show on The Voice. Of course, I have no regrets, but yeah, I feel like that's something a lot of people don't really know or think about. Um, but I mean, it was one of the best experiences of my life. I am so lucky. I feel like I've met so many amazing artists from that show that I like am gonna follow forever and like look up to, and they inspire me. And as well as friends. I mean, not only are they super talented, but just like the nicest people, encouraging and supportive. And it's really cool to come off the show and like have a community of people, of other artists that support you even outside of the show. It was a competition, but it was like so loving. Everyone wanted everyone to succeed, and the same off the show. And yeah, it was such an amazing experience. I grew so much in my confidence and just learned a lot about myself and pushed myself. I wanted to like do something that was more out of my comfort zone, and like doing covers and all of that type of stuff, getting songs assigned to you. And it's very challenging, but it's really rewarding when you get to come off of it and be like, yeah, I did that. And it's really cool.
Yeah, and you're from Dallas, Georgia, um, and it's so interesting to see how artists kind of unfold their experiences in different competitions like The Voice, and then go on American Idol and whatever. And that's what a lot of people don't know about you. You know, you were on American Idol, season 18,
I think so, yeah.
season 18, but then people say it's season 3 because of how new that they kind of started the show.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but what was the judges? It was I think you were still Luke Bryan, Katy Perry, and Lionel Richie.
Yeah.
Was Lionel Richie Papa Richie?
Yeah, he definitely was. I tell everyone even now he was my favorite. He was just like the sweetest person ever, and just like supportive of everyone. Even if he had like criticism or anything, it was very constructive and like supportive. It was never like it never made you feel bad, or he was never putting anyone down. He was always trying to uplift everyone. So yeah, he definitely is.
Yeah. I remember watching Lionel Richie. I think it was Grace Franklin's audition, the granddaughter of Aretha Franklin, and I think it was Lionel Richie who says, um, "I want what I want best for you in life is to take a shot at going backwards, come back and get a running start at it."
Yeah.
And he says that I don't want this to be a crash and burn. Um, if you can put in the time and put the shyness behind you and the power in front of you, you'll be something very special. Um, and so when your American Idol experience was on, it was how far did you make it into? Was it past the Hollywood rounds, or how was it that?
I made it all the way to the last round of Hollywood Week, so the third round. And I got sent home right before the Hawaii week, so I believe top 40. So I was top 60.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I mean, when you look back on that experience on American Idol, and you look back on your experience on The Voice, what have you learned about yourself?
Oh my gosh. I feel like me on Idol and me on The Voice were like two completely different people. And it's like people always ask me questions about Idol, and I'm like, I don't even know like how I did that at this at the time. I I'm such a bad perfectionist. Like anything that I do, if I'm not like 110%, I beat myself up for it so badly and like pick myself apart. And honestly, I think it does more harm to yourself than good, because when you get on stage, like you could have practiced a song and like done it so well, like on your own or any other time. And then when you get on stage, it's like the battle of, okay, don't get in your head right now, because the more you get in your head, it's more likely that you're going to mess up. And it's just like, and then it's not a fun experience. So I've always like battled with that, with like, I have such a love and passion for music and performing, but I do have like social anxiety and honestly, I'd say like stage fright a little bit. And so it's like a battle, but it's like bittersweet because it's what I love to do. And now that I'm older, it's gotten so much easier. Like me on Idol, I was just like, I turned 16 in Hollywood week, and like the coaches actually like sang me happy birthday and stuff. It was really cool. And yeah, I was on stage, and every time I performed on Idol, I was just like this shy, insecure little girl like in high school. And honestly, at the time, I was a singer, but I didn't really know who I was as an artist. I had an idea, but I didn't know who I wanted to be, what my style was. Like I was writing, but not as much. And then so I kind of went on Idol more as just like I have a passion for singing. I don't know where it's going to lead me, but I'm just going to try it. So that was me on Idol. And then for The Voice, I like when I got off of Idol, it was a super hard experience because I made it so difficult on myself mentally, but coming off of it was so beneficial for me because I had to reevaluate and be like, okay, so you didn't do the way you wanted to do on that show. So like, what are you going to do now to put in the work? Like, who do you want to be? Figure out like all of those types of things. And that's when I really honed in like who I wanted to be as an artist. I started writing more. I started gigging more and just like getting in my craft more. And then when I did The Voice, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this differently than I did Idol. I'm gonna be more confident, and I'm gonna like trust in God and just like believe that if this is my path, if this is my destiny, that it'll happen. And I just need to be confident in the abilities that I have. And that was kind of like me on The Voice versus Idol. So The Voice was like so much more of an enjoyable experience for me, not necessarily because of the show, but just because of me mentally. I was two completely different people. And yeah, and then now even coming off The Voice, it's kind of similar. Like I know who I am, but I have like more of a drive coming off of The Voice, like, okay, I'm gonna do music, like I'm gonna put out some music, right. And I'm just like really determined right now. So yeah, just a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And that goes into the part where, I was doing some research about you, and I was reading some articles and the interviews you've done when it comes to articles. And you talked a lot about commitment and labor of love. And you just talked about like having so much things going on for you with American Idol and The Voice, and then having this like identity as an artist and staying committed into the lane that you want to go in. Talk to me about that importance for you.
Yeah, I talk a lot about because I mean I always get questions like, why do you want to do this, or what made you want to start doing this? And it's kind of just like an ever growing cycle and love and passion. Like some things die in the passion, and then some things are reborn. Like you get more passionate about other genres than you were like a year ago. It's just like an ongoing cycle of figuring out who you are and what you like and what you want to make. And it's not that it's bad that it's ever changing. It's just it is what it is. And honestly, I think that's one of the like incredible things about music is it's always changing, and there's so many paths to it. And but for me, I always tell people like music is hard to pursue as a career just because like the industry is almost impossible, and there's just like so much money, effort, like blood, sweat, and tears that go into it. And if you lose the purpose that you're doing it for, then it becomes almost like pointless. Like you don't even want to do it because it's just so like it's a lot of work. Um, but I think when you remember, like, I just love doing music. I love connecting with people through music. And like creating new music in the studio and getting to perform it, and just like, I don't know, there's just something that it does not compare to like being on a stage and just all the creative process. And so I always tell people, like, if you want to do it, commit to it. And there's going to be times when you're going to get so many no's in the industry, and you're not going to get as many views or interaction or any of the like marketing stuff that's going on nowadays. You may not get it, and there's going to be a lot of those hills to get up, but ultimately, if you remember why you're doing it and you hold on to that like passion for it that kind of started you in the beginning, then all of those things feel really small, like all of the no's and just all of the negative stuff becomes really small when you're like, oh wait, but like I really love doing this. Because I mean, life is so short. I mean, it sucks to be doing something that you don't want to do in life versus like, yeah, maybe I'm not the biggest artist ever, but I'm doing what I love, and that's good with me. So I always tell people just to go for it and commit to it. I mean, life is too short to not, because who knows what can happen.
Absolutely. Do you feel like you're reborn as an artist?
Yeah, I would say I definitely I when I first started writing music, I like wanted to be strictly pop, and now I'm like I'm pop, but I'm indie slash alternative. It's just a whole bunch of stuff. And I also am always really adamant about like I don't like being defined by genres. I think that genres are so old now. I think like genres are honestly subjective. Like I might listen to something and be like, yeah, that's a pop song, but someone else might be like, oh, but that's like an alternative song. So everyone can, it's very subjective. So yeah, I'm definitely reborn as an artist, but I don't, I used to be so caught up like, well, I'm going to confuse people if like I'm not making strictly pop music or all of this stuff. I don't think that anyone needs to do that. If you want to get out of your comfort zone and try different genres and all of that type of stuff, I think it's really cool. Like some of my favorite artists, like Tori Kelly, she has like a gospel album, and but she's a pop artist as well. So yeah, I think all artists are somehow reborn multiple times in their career.
Absolutely. And I just see an album for you that just is called Reborn.
Yeah.
I just genuinely see like an album for you that's called Reborn. And I think that's really important, that what you just said about like, yes, I think that like I agree with what you said about like I think genres are subjective in a way. Because like for me, like I can look at like things like rock and roll stuff, and then I remember hearing this one artist, Clint Black, and he says he went to this one gig and he's playing a song, and they said that, oh no, your country. But he was playing with a rock and roll band, right? And so that goes in line with what you were saying about like genres being so subjective. Like you don't know what it is. Like I can say James Bay is pop music, but then a lot of people can say it's alternative.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to talk about Key of D music in Hiram, Georgia. Because do you feel like that's where you kind of honed in on your music craft?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, no one's ever asked me about that before. Um, that's crazy. That's like more I first started taking vocal lessons. I'd say like there's so many different crafts of being a musician. Like at the time when I was at Key of D, I was hyper focused on becoming a vocalist because I mean, I was obsessed with Carrie Underwood and Kelly Clarkson and Demi Lovato and all of these like powerhouse singers, Adele, and I adored them and I had them on repeat all the time. And I just remember being younger and being like, I want to sing like this. Like I want to be able to sing my socks off and like blow people away. And I don't know, it was something like empowering about listening to like female vocalists who can belt and like do all these runs and hit all these notes, and it was really cool to me. And I just remember being like, I want to be able to do that. And so my mom put me in vocal lessons like in my little town that I'm in, and uh I mean she helped me. I remember like doing vocal lessons for the first time. And when you're first learning to sing, especially when you're younger, you're like so timid and you don't want to project because you're scared and you're shy and you don't know how to do it. And like one of my vocal exercises was like, okay, she called it, we're gonna sing from your honey pot, because she was teaching me how to project and to belt. And yeah, so I think that was definitely where like a lot of my passion sparked, because it was more so I was just like interested in it at first, and I was like, oh, well, this would be cool, like if I could sing this type of music and all that stuff. And then like the more that I had vocal lessons with her, the more that I like really grew to love it. Of course, I was so young then, so everything then like is really cool to you, but I'd say like a couple years into that, I started doing like talent shows and stuff. And then I think that's also when my parents were like, oh, like maybe she could actually like go somewhere with this in the future. And so I think we all kind of collectively decided that this was probably going to be something that I would do long term. And yeah, so it's definitely where like my passion sparked. That was the first place that I ever really like dove into learning about the craft of being a vocalist and like tech everything, all the technicalities of singing and all of that stuff. So yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And you were just talking about blowing people's socks away. And I honestly don't think that like you should be focused on doing that. I think it's more like I remember Vince Gill, he said this quote and I wrote it down because I thought it was so significant what he said. And I'm taking it with me everywhere I go. He says, be a musician first. Your goal should be to move them, not to impress them.
Yeah.
Right. Like you don't have to blow people's socks away. If you can inspire one person in the crowd, that your career is already, I mean, like it's already in place for you.
Yeah,
Um,
and I would say as well that was something that I learned like later on, because when you're so young, you hyperfixate on like things like that, like, oh, she can sing high, so I want to sing high. And like that was definitely my main focus when I was younger. And then it was cool when I became a teenager and I picked up guitar for the first time, and like I started songwriting, and I was like, oh, there's so much more to music than just like being a great singer. I mean, that's so awesome, but I also, when I got older, had to like realize that there's going to be so many singers that are better than you always. There's always going to be someone better than you, which is good, because you can push yourself. But it's not always about being the best. And definitely being on these TV shows, also, like I had to hone in on that and be like, yeah, well, they can do this, but you also have something to offer that they don't. And like maybe she is really great at emoting a song, and like everyone has something unique to offer. And the more that I learned about music and just dove into being an artist, the more that I realized it was less about being perfect all the time and less about being the best singer or any of that, which is something that is really important, I think, to learn. But I think as well that just comes with time.
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also important to note that like, also getting yourself immersed into a really vibrant music scene too. That also influences a lot of music when it comes to original projects, singles that you released, going through the motions, which we'll talk about shortly. And I live here in Toronto, Canada, and it's a very vibrant music scene. Like a lot of people have come up from this area and really kind of honed in on their craft and made a career out of it. And I want to talk about influences. Do you feel like when it comes to your music, does it be inspired by like poetry, nature, the love for doing it, or is it just the road experiences too?
Um, I would say like most of my inspirations honestly come from other artists or from just personal experiences. I don't read a lot. I should, but I don't really read poetry or books that often. The only book that I really read is the Bible, which I'm trying. That's like one of my New Year's resolutions. I'm like, I need to read more. No, but just like personal experiences, I find that I write better, and that I don't know, that I just feel the songs better when I'm writing from personal experience. And then as well, like when other artists, when I hear a song and I'm like, wow, like that's a really good hook, or that lyric was really good, I get inspired and I'm like, well, I want to try to do something like that. Or I don't know, I just get inspired in the moments a lot of times by other artists. And yeah, I think those two things are like my main inspirations when I write.
Absolutely. And obviously you've made it very clear in articles that I've been reading that, the road has not been easy for you. And you make that you're abundantly clear on that. And I want to quote you on this. You said you were asked in an article, has it been a smooth road? And you said, no, it has not been a smooth road, but it also hasn't been extremely bumpy. I'm young. I'm just now beginning to scratch the surface, and there's so many others out there also trying to get their music heard. The business is so competitive, and at times it can overwhelm you and make you doubt yourself. Do you still feel that's accurate for you?
Yeah, I would. I think it goes through waves in the industry. There's times when you just feel really down because you wish that, you're putting in all this work and you feel like you're creating really good stuff and it just doesn't get the outcome that you thought it would. It is sometimes like, dang, this industry is so tough. And it's definitely always, I feel like, an uphill battle. But again, it's so important for me to like remain focused on why I'm doing it. And when you remember that, again, all those things feel really little, but it definitely is. Am I doubt myself a lot and question myself just in general a lot, but it's something that I'm learning to get better at. Yeah, yeah, something that I'm learning to get better at. So it's always an uphill battle, but it's definitely better um than like say my American Idol days. Like I'm definitely far surpassed those days.
Absolutely. And those articles were written when you were 16 years old. And for a young artist already at 16, you're very well aware of your surroundings. You're very well aware of what you want your music to sound like. Um, and you talked a lot about, like, you said after that experience, I really had to think and pray about what was next. The music business is so difficult. And there's so many things there's so many trying to have their music heard to become successful recording artists. I question if I had what it takes. Do you feel now you have what it takes to become a successful recording artist?
I do. I definitely do. At the time, I was so being on a show at like 16 and not really ever doing anything like that in your life before that. I'm from like Dallas, Georgia, and there's not many people from here that do what I do. And so like being on Idol for the first time, it kind of opens your eyes to like how many musicians were there that are trying to do the same thing. And it was almost like overwhelming, like, oh my goodness, like there's a lot more people than I think there are. And yeah, so getting off that show, I was definitely like in a really rough patch and a rough state of mind with just questioning my whole career and who I wanted to be. But definitely now I feel like I'm so confident in who I want to be and what kind of music I want to make. And I'm just like excited to move forward. Whereas before I feel like I was scared to move forward. So yeah, I'm just really excited with all the potential that is coming this year. And yeah, definitely a lot more confident.
Absolutely. And you're talking about upcoming projects. Obviously, you just released a song called Going Through the Motions. Talk to me about the creation behind that song.
Yeah, so I wrote that song during COVID, when the world was insane and everyone was in lockdown. And it was bittersweet for me because I know a lot of people struggled during that time and some people actually like it helped them. And I think I was a mix in the middle. At first it was really hard because I mean it's tough. You don't get to the world kind of like it felt like it stopped or it was stuck in place for a while. Um, but then I also felt like it forced me to kind of learn more about myself and get more in touch with myself because all we had like was the people in our house or if you were living alone like yourself. So it really forced me to just get in touch with everything. And so it helped me, but it was also really bittersweet. And I kind of wanted to just like capture that in a song, not only for me, but for everyone. I really like writing music that I feel like everyone can relate to or can connect to. And I feel like COVID was, I mean, the whole world experienced it. And so we all know what that felt like. And yeah, it felt like the world had stopped, and I wanted to write a song about that, and just the feeling of like you're just getting through the days just to live them. And I feel like not only in COVID, but a lot of people can relate to that, even in their work field or just everything. Sometimes it feels like you're just doing it to do it, and you kind of lose like a passion or a love for life or your dreams or anything. But yeah, I wrote that song really quickly. I just remember sitting down one night, and I'm a night owl, so I was up and I was like, I kind of feel like I want to write a song right now. And then I was thinking, and then I was like, yeah, I'm kind of feeling like I just felt a little bit discouraged at the time going through the motions. And it just kind of like wrote itself. Yeah, and then I went into a studio and it became like an upbeat kind of bop, and I was not expecting that either. I wrote it first as like kind of a ballad. Um and so yeah, it was really cool to see it come to life, and I'm really happy with that song.
Yeah, and I think you should be proud of that song. It's a great one, and obviously, no pun intended, but obviously we're all going through the motions. And I also think that like I think it's so interesting how this whole thing when COVID happened and then the world shutting down and everyone's like, oh no, what's gonna happen after this? You know,
Yeah.
like we started to get in our heads more. Um but I think a lot of people started doing things like this, you know, like doing a podcast and actually talking about important things that
Yeah.
they didn't think that they would do before. Um, and so that brings me to my question as we're going to be wrapping up this interview shortly. I want to ask you this. What has life taught you recently?
Um, oh, that's a hard question. I feel like it's an ongoing journey of learning about myself. I feel like life has a funny way of throwing things at you when you least expect it. Um, and yeah, I feel like that's something that I was learning and I'm constantly learning, just to like not to be scared to confront like yourself or what you want to do. And um yeah, I don't know. That's a tricky question. What has life taught me? I feel like that's probably it. Also, I feel like I'm constantly learning new ways or just new ways to motivate myself not to give up on things that I'm passionate about. Friendships, passions, dreams, everything. I feel like it's really easy in a society where everyone wants everything so quick and you can get everything so quick. But then there's things that you do want quick and you can't. And so we live in an impatient society, and I feel like I'm finding new ways every day to just like motivate myself and encourage myself, and get myself back up on my feet if I'm having days where I'm just not feeling encouraged. So yeah, I'm always learning new things about myself and about life. Um, I just turned 19, so there's still a lot for me to learn, but I'm getting there.
No, that's absolutely understandable. I think everyone is trying to learn, even at the age that they're at. And I want to ask you about we're gonna go a little bit deeper here, and I'm gonna ask you, what's the most painful thing you've been told, and how did you deal with it?
Ooh, this is a good question. I feel like in my career, it's definitely being on a show like The Voice. I knew that I was gonna get hate because I was putting myself out there for like the world to hear me for the first time. I mean Idol, but I didn't necessarily get aired, so it was kind of a different thing. Like, oh, people are actually gonna like see me sing on their TVs, and that was kind of scary. Um, and I was expecting it, but not on the scale that I felt like I received it. Of course, to me, hate is always going to seem bigger because I feel like artists tend to only like focus on the bad comments than the good, or they seem bigger sometimes. And so it was weird to like get hate comments and like people have things pointed out that I never thought to like think about. And just like like even for the live shows, like I had someone say, well, I didn't vote for you because I didn't like the outfit that you had on. And I was just like, what the heck? And so I don't know if there was one thing that someone said that stood out to me the most, but like, I don't know, just seeing hate comments for the first time was like really interesting and something else that I had to learn to get through. Um, but yeah, I don't think I've ever like gotten something that is stuck with me, that has stuck out to me. But I'd say just in general, like being on The Voice and receiving hate comments for the first time was definitely something painful at first, you know, because it's something exciting, like, oh, I get to be on this show and it's so cool and it's so exciting. And then you have people like putting you down. And specifically like my blind audition, there's something I can remember. They like compared me to Carrie Underwood, and like a lot of my comments on Facebook were just like, she is not even anywhere near Carrie Underwood, and like just a lot of people putting me down, and comparing me to like past singers on the show and just all this stuff. And it was kind of like, man, like what the heck, why? Yeah, it sucks to be compared when you're not trying to be other people. But yeah, I'm just rambling at this point. But yeah, there was hate to get through being on the show.
Absolutely. And as we're wrapping up here, two last questions. But the second last question to you is, what is one thing you've been told that you'll never forget?
Ooh. I will say that there has been, well, one, this is a quick one. Charlie Puth complimenting my tone and my voice on TV was awesome. But just in general, I'm very big on my faith, and I feel like anytime that I'm down, God has a funny way of lifting me up when I kind of want to give up. And there's been many times where I've like been at like gigs at like a restaurant or a bar, and it was like in those times and seasons of my life when I was kind of going through my rough patches of my career, being like, do I really want to do this? Like, is this actually worth it? And like I would question myself a lot. And it's those same days that I would have one person, like, mind you, in a bar, in a restaurant, you're typically background music and not many people are like interested in what you're doing. And so it's really cool when people come up to me. So like I would have one person come up to me every time I would feel this way or be in my head at a gig and be like, I just really feel like this is what is for you in your life. I feel like you have something, and that I truly feel like you're going to do something in the future with this, and I want you to know that you should keep going and not give up. And it's, I don't know, I know people are like, well, yeah, you probably get that all the time though, and I guess, but just I don't take those things as coincidences. It was so specific in times like that when I really wanted to give up, when someone would come up to me and be like, don't give up, like this is what you should be doing. And it's like times like those I'll never forget. And honestly, it's kind of like those moments that keep me going, because I'm just like, yeah, maybe I am. So yeah, those types of moments are very memorable for me.
Absolutely. And my last question to you is, when you get to heaven, if you were to play a song with anybody who's already there, who would it be and why?
Freddie Mercury. Oh my gosh, I love Freddie Mercury. Oh my gosh, he's amazing. He's one of my idols. Queen is like my favorite band. What song is really hard? Um, I would probably say I really love The Show Must Go On. I get into that song, but literally any Queen song, I'm like jamming all the time. But yeah, probably Freddie Mercury. I think he's just an icon. I think he was way ahead of his time, and just an amazing in all aspects of being a musician and an artist. So yeah, Freddie Mercury.
Absolutely. And well, we've come to the end of this interview, but thank you so much for chatting with me. It's just been a pleasure, an honor to get to know you and also hear about your story and share your music with other people. To the listeners who made it this far into the episode, thanks so much for sticking around. Hope you enjoyed my conversation with Sasha Hurtado, American pop indie singer-songwriter, former NBC The Voice Season 22 alumni. You can find her on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and on TikTok. For more info, visit SashaHurtadoMusic.com. Support the show. Please feel free to share it with family, friends, or on social media. You can find the podcast on all podcast streaming platforms. I've been your host, Jigme Kelsang. Thanks for tuning into the show.